Yay, hello, hello, and welcome to this week of Training Tuesday Live. We are magnet marketers. Our goal is always to help you become a magnet with your marketing versus being a bullhorn. And today we're talking all about business to business, and does social media really work for brands that are selling to other businesses? B2B. Can social media still be effective if your brand is one that is very niche and you're really looking for another audience that's really just a business audience? We're going to be breaking it down. Some of our answers may surprise you, but don't worry, we're going to come with some examples and, the strategy on how to make it all work. So join in with us today. If you would, in the comments, we'd love to invite you to this conversation and let us know if you do have a business to business kind of brand and what you're using in order to market yourselves, or just say hello and let us know who's tuning in so we can welcome you into the conversation today. And if we've not met before, my name is Jessica Phillips with Now Marketing Group in the Relationship Marketing System. My main goal is to help you love more, give more, and be more through the art of authentic relating using relationship marketing so you can get to the heart of business, right? And build those connections. And my awesome co-host, he's Mike Gingrich. Hello, Mike.
Hello, hello.
He is the president of a web development and software firm called Digital Hill Multimedia. He's a published author 5 times over, triathlete, runner, biker, and leading business blogger at MikeGingrich.com. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, doing well. And I think it's a great topic. I think we get this question a lot. I think there's misconceptions about it, and excited to unravel some of those today and dive deeper. And hopefully we get some audience participation here and they can chime in.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one that comes up at least 3 times a week for me. And it's kind of funny because we work with a ton of clients that are super niche, like niche of a business. I'm talking about brands that do nuclear pharmacy that they're only selling to hospitals, to clients that are selling a tool that cuts holes in the ground that they're only selling to the people that are going to be using the tool to cut the holes in the ground, that are usually hired by municipalities. So it's like super niche of a niche. I mean it.
Yeah.
And really unique brands that are coming to us with this same question, or they came to us initially, like, how can we use social media, or it doesn't even make sense because everybody's talking about it, right? Like they've been talking about it, but I don't think it's going to make sense for my business. I mean, everyone thinks that their brand is super unique and it's the only company out there that does that thing that they do when it comes to this topic. And whether this is a brand yourself, maybe you work in one, or you've worked for one, or you help serve a client like this that is one of those super niche businesses that think they're the exception to the rule when it comes to all things marketing, and that there's maybe only one way of doing it. This question comes up again and again. And Mike, I think you work with some niche clients as well in this space.
Yeah, manufacturing, that type of thing. Yes, that they're selling their product. Yes. Hello, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi,
people
Nina. Good
that
to
was coming
see
in
you.
from LinkedIn, right? Nice.
Yeah, so good to see LinkedIn in the house. You guys are our audience. So if people do think about social media, so manufacturing was a good one. I'm going to just give a couple other examples of the types of clients we're going to share examples for today. So manufacturing, definitely one. We also have a client that does powder coating. So they do powder coating for a product that's being sold to another company, right? So they're working specific people that they're trying to talk to. We have a client now that's janitorial services for companies. All right. So even behind the scenes a lot. Manufacturing that's selling parts to the dealerships.
Yeah.
So to the part they're creating parts, OEM parts, that would then be sold to another manufacturer that's making the product before it gets to
supplier to the OEMs, right? All that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, I mean, completely unique brands where they have a unique audience. So when this question comes up, I'm going to tell the answer that I share with every client. So when they ask, can social media help me get sales? And I will sometimes say, no, it's not if you are a business to business. But it can lead to sales, but there's two ways of looking at social media. And I'm going to show you how you have to approach it if you're a B2B. And then we can discuss this. This is not, it's open for discussion. But there's transactional type of marketing and there's transformational type of marketing. The transactional type of marketing is I'm putting a marketing message out in
That's
hopes
tweetable
that,
right there.
yeah, that I'm putting a marketing message out to where this message is going to hit my ideal audience and it's going to lead to a transaction. Post equals dollar
Conversion. Yeah.
conversion. Transactional type of just social media approach, and I'm using social media specifically, organic, I'm talking here. No, it's not the right platform for you as a brand. Transformational type of social media where we're using this as the big picture, the guide to get to the sale, the leader into the transformational, where it's changing the approach and how you approach sales from a supportive and role. Supportive as in guiding potentially your audience in, beginning that conversational approach, using it from a brand level and a team member level on a personal level toward transformation, transforming how you're looking at this. Yes, it can be for lead to sales, but it has to be looked at in that way. And it's not the same. I'm creating X post, X platform that's going to lead to Y outcome. And we're going to break down what that can look like. But if you're just wanting transaction, you're immediately like, I'm going to set up on social as a business. And because I, am told that it works and you're expecting immediate sales results, you need to do ads.
Yep.
That's what's going to work for you. If you're not going to change anything else and you don't have the time and the actual strategy and all the things we actually talked about last week, insert reference link here to all that really goes into it and all the roles that go into social media, because it can't just be a post up of your latest press release and your AP headline leading back to your website of what you just accomplished. That's not going to work. That's not gonna make the cut for social media in the way that most brands, when they think B2B, that it could work, or that's their objection. And that's the reason that they're saying nope, it's not going to work for me. My business is, a location that's the OEM supplier to, the manufacturers for these parts at a factory. So social media is not going to work for me. And in their way of looking at it, they could be absolutely right. But we could show them a way that it could work and it should work and it has worked for every niche of a company like the ones that we're talking about. So I'd love to provide some examples today. Anita, good comment here. So that's a tweetable. The fact that Mike says that comment was tweetable says a lot. Awesome.
That was your transactional versus transformational. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my tip for JJS to make sure that's a tweet there.
I love it. JJS. Yeah. So Mike, how does this come up in conversation for you? Because I know you have the same type of clients that you're dealing with, and I would love to break down kind of our formula that we use to go through thinking about social in a transformational way.
Yeah. Well, I think that to add two things initially to this, and that is that number one, when somebody says, can social media work for B2B, or I don't think social media can work for B2B, they're often not defining social media well, or what their specific how, and it's so again, lack of strategy there. But number two, I think often their ideas run simply to Facebook, and social media is a lot more than that. And so again, kind of comes back to understanding your audience. And I'm not just saying your end buyer, but in a B2B sense, you need to know the role of who you're trying to reach within that organization. Okay, so that's a key. And then and I think that too many times for some reason there's this like interchangeable thing that say you say social media, they think Facebook, and they think that's all. Social media, Facebook. No, 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 no. It's broader than that, but they go there.
Yes, you're so right. And I try to get them to think of, because sometimes they don't. On the opposite end of the spectrum too, I've had brands that have like, oh, well, we only need LinkedIn because we're B2B. And kind of same thing that you just mentioned. They either will think one thing about it, and you come in with a preconceived notion. So the first question, because I definitely want to share some examples where Facebook could work for some of these super niche businesses where you don't think it would, because it's not in the same way that you have thought about or imagined Facebook, right? But the first thing is you just mentioned, is okay, what are our goals and who are we targeting? So the very first thing that I ask clients, I'm like, it depends. I may say no, that it may not work. If your only goal is sales and you don't want to do the work and you just want to blast it out, then honestly, it's probably not a client I want to work with anyway. But if I'm honest, but if the goal is, okay, do I want to grow our culture? Because as we mentioned, everything starts from the inside out. And if we want happier team members, that will lead to better overall performance and relationships with our clients and during the sales process and beyond. So it's going to lead to more closes, right? Overall with sales, it's going to lead to more referrals because the relationship is stronger. And then it's going to lead to more awareness about our brand because more people are talking about us, wanting to spend time with us, which that starts internally with culture. So if one of our goals is culture, which we've had that with a team member, I mean, manufacturing, it is a hard job, especially some of these that are, powder coating and janitorial for companies and, staffing agencies, things like that. It's hard to keep really great talent into your location. So culture could be a big part of that, not only from the standpoint of getting people to stick with us and all the other things I just mentioned, but also to recruit some talent in. So that could be one of your goals that is an indirect representation of why you're not reaching something else, right? So if you're struggling with clients are leaving and or they're not coming in, and why is that? Well, that's because maybe my team's not working potentially hard. I'm just, making up a scenario here, but why is that? Why? Just asking the question why. So getting down to the nitty-gritty of what are you really trying to do at the end of the day? Is it build culture? Is it to grow your sales? Is it to reduce your churn of your audience? Is it people just don't even know we exist? They're not even clicking on our website. They don't even know that we offer this service. Is it, to continue to shorten the sales cycle? Because a lot of B2B sales, they have a longer sales cycle. And if you don't see that pipeline filling in, you can usually tell 12 to 18 months out, like, oh, we're in some trouble, right? So like maybe it's speeding the sales process along or figuring out where there's gaps in that overall sales flow. Knowing the answers to those questions are really going to help you really know overall what is our goal at the end of the day and what are we trying to accomplish.
Yes, absolutely, and that's the starting point. That's foundational, and I liked what you said because you distinguished this between, if they want transactional, then they need to go ads, that type of thing. So there is obviously social media ads where you can target and those types of pieces there, but the transformational route again is a let's say, less direct, less X to Y, that type of piece, but more potential for bubbling up, wider, deeper, stronger foundation, recurring loyalty.
Exactly. Because asking those questions first will know, okay, where do we need to set up? What do we need to look at as our overall approach? And then how are we going to measure success? So what does it look like to you, right? What are those wins? And then who are we really there to show up for? Social media being social. I know everybody said that. Oops. Everybody said, socials for social, but really truly knowing who are we there to talk to? Because that's the key. So I'll go back to the example and show why this is important with the example of Mr. Manhole, the client that he has a tool, he cuts holes in the ground, and
Yeah.
this tool perfectly cuts manholes, helps remove them, and the goal is to shorten the, time that it takes to repair the job, helps it stay longer, reduced, strain on your crew, the whole shebang, right? But he's selling the tool to the people performing the job. So it's not like he's trying to get more jobs. He's directing his focus for sales, if you will, all to the actual millers, pavers, people that are doing the road work. Well, he wants to show up on social. And when we went through this process, you would think, oh, are you going up to show up on social to sell more of your manhole cutters? And we're like, actually, what if we helped the contractors get more jobs by showing and helping provide to them the resources to show that they're using a superior product. So being a support to them. So in doing so for them, we make them look like the heroes. They end up sharing more jobs because they're getting more work and we're feeding more leads to them, which is going to cause more repeat business because they're going to need more teeth for the cutter, things like that.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's how we can show up and we can use it for more PR. So spreading awareness that this tool exists. So looking at Facebook, we look at it as how can we provide a Facebook group that's going to bring all of our installers into one group where they can talk about, challenges, the wins, and we can feed them directly in some posts that they can share on their page to make them be able to reach their ideal audience faster.
Yeah.
Others are going to look at, wow, how are they growing? Oh man, they got this new tool as a spin-off of that indirect. Now more people are going to be looking at Mr. Manhole to buy the tool, right? So that's how you can look at it. So not only though are we going to approach it on what can we create? So I like to ask this question too. You don't want to show up on saying, what can I get? But it's what can I give? When I show up to ask, what can I give? And provide a value there. And I know people use that word all the time, value. I'm sure it's annoying at this point, but really, what can I give instead of what can I get? By doing that, what could I give that somebody would be willing to pay for if I had it on social? What could I show up for that somebody would really be willing to pay for because it's so much rich in value? That's that thing. So now transformationally, we looked at, okay, instead of just creating this group for our installers, now where else can we participate and give and add value? And we'd look online and see, okay, there's groups of miller and paver groups that are 60,000 members deep. In this group, they're hanging out there, right? This audience of others like his audience of installers that they have. They're same individuals. So we will listen in there, see value, create blogs that will also support this community, right? Do interviews with others that are feeding them and giving them information, and same kind of thing. So it's showing up to be part of that conversation. And also now you're going to have that kind of come back to you as part of this B2B. So that's on Facebook. Now, LinkedIn, we looked at it as, okay, again, transformational. How can we show up on LinkedIn that is going to look, if we laid out our full sales process. So this is the next step. I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but we talked about looking at your goals, who you're trying to show up for, what can I give instead of just get.
Yep.
I like to ask the clients okay, if you mapped out your full sales process, where could you see, what would you go through in the process, and where could you see social potentially now being able to have this intersection with your team in some way, or your brand, to help you either shorten the sales cycle or build a stronger relationship before, during, and after? So we talked about that kind of in Facebook, but then LinkedIn, setting up the team members that are part of the Mr. Manhole brand. And this is just one example, setting them up personally on LinkedIn and using their channels that way to be able to, offer some value and answer questions there. And again, showing up with that giving mentality. And there's other channels too, but just another way of I wouldn't think that that tool could do that thing. And I'm sure you have some examples. I would love to, continue sharing some of these examples too. But Trig says, I want to hit on some of these comments here, like reverse marketing for your client. Absolutely. Yeah. So as long as it's helping you hit the goal, reverse engineer it, right? Like, how could you do something that's going to help reverse engineer it? Whenever you make your client look like the hero, you're winning too at the same time. Donna
Yes.
says, have a client who owns a construction company. Loving this example. Oh my God, Donna, I have so many examples with construction. Nina says, man, this is going to be a great conversation. I hate that I have to go. I'll at least have to share it. Maybe I can wrap up and come back. And yes, we'd love for you to come back, but also you can watch the replay. We will keep this in for you as well.
Yeah, no, I think that I think that's the key. What you just outlined, it's this middle piece. Okay, so if you're B2B, and your client has a client, right? And so so there's kind of three parties involved there, and if you can think to that end one and say, how can you help this middle one get more of the end one, then that can create, and so you need to do that with, as you're talking about, social can help you do that with some before things. So a group on, hey, let's, this is a group for how we can help you, showcase what you can do. And yes, it happens to be using that tool that we provide you. But it's going to save the end client, going to save them time, it's going to save them cost, because this is faster, it's more efficient, what with those pieces that they are. So you can answer questions, you can equip them, you can give them resources in that's going to build loyalty, that's going to build trust, that build some, if it's engaging, that some stickiness and coming back to those pieces, and you become, just that conduit. We want to feed, we want to stay with that group because they're a resource to us.
Yeah, and the whole goal was to grow installers. And how do you grow installers? And the only way that you're going to get more is if others see that they're successful. It's an investment, to buy that. So if others see that others are being successful with it, they're going to want that thing, right? And that's just one example of outlining the goal, knowing your audience specifically, what helps them be successful. That's why it's so important to go to the personas and not just think about yourself, but think about for what purpose and who, right? And going back there. Another example was a client that was literally just looking to grow their team. They could not staff the team, fast enough. And therefore, they're not able to take on as big of jobs, or things were potentially being missed in the process of doing a job because they just couldn't do quality control because they were focused on quantity, right? So if you want that, and that's one of the challenges, it was using and highlighting the culture. So we came up with fun ways of making it look like the most fun workplace that there is, which it is, right? They really do care about their team members. You can't fake that stuff. But using Facebook as that channel to say, I'm going to highlight our culture and our team and let them know how much they're appreciated. This is our channel for that. LinkedIn can be our channel where we're communicating to these large corporations and showcasing our, our skill set and our portfolio and, our, example before and after examples of powder coating and things like that. But our Facebook and our Instagram have a specific purpose that was like, this is the team member highlight page. This is for our team members to feel like a reward because we're shining the light on them or highlighting them or, giving them shout outs for the birthday and anniversaries and saying what a great job they did and who worked on what and really kind of pouring into them. And that whole channel still is all about them. So we may be sharing
I really
jobs.
like that.
It's great. Like the team members getting so engaged now with it.
Yeah, because so there's team member loyalty, which again is going to serve the business well. If you're creating that culture and you're highlighting the successes of the individuals on the team and you're using those channels, I think that's good, because you think of Facebook, maybe you say, well, how does it work for a B2B? And you're saying, well, maybe that's not the sales channel, but that's the, that's the loyalty channel. Yeah, that's the one that
Mhm.
creates, that that your team members are on, or the potential team members that you're trying to recruit are seeing. I want to be a part of that culture because they're on there. And ultimately, so again, business have to think bigger picture. The right team helps you accomplish your goals, which helps you grow your business.
Exactly, because, I mean, you have to know the channel that you're on too, right? Like, would that make sense for them to just be blasting out sales messaging on Facebook if they're a powder coating company? Probably not. But if by some off chance one of their clients' employees are scrolling through Facebook, they would happen to see someone that they potentially know that then works at this company is being highlighted. That's going to stop my scroll, if you will. But just seeing something that doesn't feel natural on Facebook isn't, right? Where that message could be well received on the company page when I'm researching if I work at a company to hire company A for powder coating or company B, I would expect to see their accolades and the work that they did and that kind of stuff that's in the research. But on the Facebook page, it does make sense to make it about the team member. So I'm just giving you a couple examples here. I want to give you one more
Yeah.
that's kind of using the approach of helping the the business that the other business is selling to be the hero, as well as helping educate your client's client. Let me rewind here because I know that can be confusing. I'll give you a high level overview. This company was a nuclear pharmacy, okay? They do nuclear pharmacy, and their whole MO is creating pharmaceuticals, actually a product that would go in if you were going to get a heart scan. I'll keep it like lower level versus talking the nuclear pharmacy term. So if you were going to get a heart scan, you would have to go into your local doctor's office or a hospital and they would refer you, to get this heart scan. And then the drug that you would have to get pumped into you in order to see whether your heart was, viable for surgery or if you needed to, if you were fine or what was going on. Um, that drug is what's being sold by our client. So our client is the pharmaceutical company, nuclear pharmacy that sells to the hospitals. The hospital's clients are ones that are being referred to them to actually have the test done. Okay. So this pharmacy is only selling to hospitals. They have nothing to do with the patient at the end of the day. However, this new medication and what made them unique. So this is one thing that made them unique is that they had this special way of creating the drug for the heart safe imaging that we wanted to almost take, and I hate even saying it, like the pharmaceutical approach to saying, ask about heart safe imaging and explaining what the difference is and what your options are if you have to do imaging. And because most people don't even think about it, they just go in and they're like, okay, I'm going to go in and have whatever test done. And they don't know the options of what medications being, pumped into them. So we thought, okay, we can use this as an opportunity to talk about heart safe imaging and the difference, but also explain what the test actually does and how to understand it and provide those resources on some of their social channels. Those resources then, if we're talking all about heart and being helpful and all of those, would be something that could potentially then help support the doctor's offices that were doing the referrals, because we made cheat sheets for them and what to expect, how the test works, all of that, things that weren't even like salesy to us. It was just cheat sheets for them. That helpful information is being shared with the client or patient. That patient's then looking at their options and they're like, ooh, I want the heart safe imaging. So if they're taking that into the hospital, that hospital's requesting more of that product, which in turn then is more for the client. Hopefully
Yeah.
that followed suit. But it was another way of giving, giving, giving. And then by doing this, we're providing resources along the way that is supporting everyone in that process. We may not be in direct contact with their patient, but we're still helping support all the roles along the way that is leading to who we're ultimately serving, right? We're serving that business, the hospital, that hospital's serving the doctor's office, who's serving the patient. All along the way, this is, providing a frictionless experience, hopefully, that we can help give to do that. And using social media helps facilitate those conversations. We're able to shine the light on doctors' offices that are catching things early, things that are happening in just the industry, and making sure that we're sharing on social also to say, okay, if this is a new way of doing it, people expect you to be ahead of the curve with technology and that you know what you're talking about. So of course, technology in that space. Of course, we want to use social to continue highlighting and reinforcing that message of saying, here's local studies that are new studies that are coming out. Those kinds of things are what we are using on social. And that's what was leading back to the website.
Yes. No. So again, it just comes back to you got to think bigger. You got to look at the larger picture and identify that. And again, I come back to just thinking beyond. Hey, Facebook's the only way, because it's not. I mean, YouTube is a social media channel there, and so providing some great educational resource material there, you become a thought leader for your industry that's providing value there. That's just another simple example and we know how kind of, YouTube really crosses over that social into search category, because people are searching for things and it can come up that way. So that's another beautiful tool to not forget about in that B2B social realm.
That's a huge part. You
Yeah.
perfectly lead into the next part. Is it's not just all social to be social. That sounds
There you
bad.
go.
Yeah, but it does tie into one another. So you have to give people something to talk about. But it doesn't mean that you are the one starting the conversation. It could be that you are playing a supportive role, an educational role, just showing up to facilitate more help, information around how to solve a problem or reach a goal. So as you said, like YouTube is a great way of doing that. And that plays a huge role in search. Another thing is just looking at PR opportunities that would be discussed and shared on social. Okay. So what I mean by that, it could be something like, for example, one of our clients, they create a product and parts for RVs. Okay. Like that's a big part of what they do. So instead of us just, doing everything on social, it's that we're providing supporting documents and things that will be shared on social, and doing it from a PR kind of, I hate using the word viral, but viral kind of perspective. So it's like, okay, here's the top places of, RV parks in Ohio, and here's what to look for, and here's what to ask for, and here's some expert opinions. So we're doing like interviews of people that that are helping provide that information, that are well-known, have a trusted community, right? That they are sharing information with. And we are just the one that are starting the conversation. And it could be from our website, but we're featuring these individuals that already have a trusted community. So we're playing it from a search perspective and a social perspective as a supportive role. So you can look at it in that way. Like, how can we partner up? How can we look at opportunities of getting more PR and keeping the conversation going by feeding it more resources, right? Another one is truckers. So it's like they work with, so the actual trucker dispatch, where they're leasing out trucks and things like that work with truckers, but we're providing resources to the truckers on, healthy eating and diet, and, how to get on the road quickly and things like that. Again, making the dispatch team look like the heroes, providing resources on here's, some apps that you can use on your phone, things like that. So it's helping our client share content with their audience. Hopefully that makes sense. And we're going to provide a ton of examples of these in our recap blog. So
Good.
if you are interested and you're on our Facebook page, in the comments there, please type the word recap and we will send you a message in Messenger so you can get the recap to the blog. If you're on any of the other channels watching, I see LinkedIn in here and some others, definitely feel free to comment that and we will manually send you the link on how you can get the recap blog that has these examples in it. And hopefully we'll just spark some ideas for you and that process that we're talking about. So kind of taking it back to the beginning on, is social media for B2B? Yes, if you're looking at it from a transformational standpoint, how can we think differently about marketing? Think about being a magnet versus a bull,
Yes.
right? And then going back and saying, okay, who are we at our core? What are our main goals? Who are we trying to attract? And what could be helpful to our audience? What is their
Yes.
biggest goal and pain point that we could play a supportive role in? And then mapping out that process as if you were going through the sales process and beyond with your team or a ideal client, and then looking at social in a way of how can this provide a supporting role?
I like just the term social as a supporting role, and just all that it can involve there. That I think is kind of a good conclusion point, or just something I want to leave with people to reflect on, because I think hopefully they've heard again today that they need to be thinking beyond, particularly in the B2B realm, social as just that transactional, and hopefully
Mm.
we've kind of, busted that bubble, given them some more things to think about within that, about these other, avenues that ultimately help you reach your end goal, which you know of if you've done that kind of strategy work, so you can know that this fits into the road there.
Yeah. So other ways that it helps, just like what we were talking about, these examples, but as Mike said, like training resources on YouTube, that's been
Yeah.
huge. Blogs on your website are huge, and that's what's being shared on social. But 99% of the time, that is one of the best traffic generators for many clients when it comes to awareness and for people coming back, is a blog that you have on your website, a B2B website, because people are searching questions and you have that as a resource, as well as companies showing up on social to share content like on their LinkedIn page that their sales team or their support team can use on their channels. And then the whole culture, team, awareness, recruiting standpoint that you can use social for that. So Facebook and Instagram are huge for that. You know, you'll see this with many B2B companies, but look and just, if you're in that industry, search and see what others are doing, or look for communities on Facebook or LinkedIn, to where there's communities of like-minded individuals gathering there, and you'll see a ton of examples. Or feel free to ask us, and we'll provide some of those examples of brands that we can find. And I promise you, whatever niche of a business, there's another one out there that does that thing. Hopefully, I shared some very niche clients with you,
Yeah.
just a few examples, but it really does take thinking about it strategically, and thinking, how can we use it as a supporting role to either educate, help set us as the expert, or our clients as the expert, engage, entertain, or just simply be there to help in that supporting role for our existing team members. Because the other thing, like with Mr. Mantle at the very beginning, the first example, it was not for sales, but it was for support of their existing audience. It led to sales, and it will, but it was just showing up for support. So thinking about it as a flywheel of, how can I turn the followers on our page to true fans, our clients into real advocates for us, right? Our team members into evangelists, and who can we align with that already has a built-in trusted community that then we can collaborate with, that's going to help grow our momentum outward,
Yeah.
and build that sustainable, long-term, organic growth. That's the key there.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, that
That was a
40 minutes
mouthful.
went fast.
It did. All of a
But
sudden, zoom.
so yeah, I would love to hear from you of anything that was helpful to you, or another way that you're using social creatively, or have heard of someone in a B2B space using social creatively. I would love to include them in our example recap blog, which you can find by either typing recap in the comments if you're on the Facebook page, or
I
if
see
you're
them. They're coming.
I love it. Or definitely, if you type it in the other channels, we'll make sure we manually get you that ref URL to get you into our chatbot to get that recap blog, or you can feel free to visit nowmarketinggroup.com/blog. We'll have it posted tomorrow with all the recap and links to examples there. But yeah, thanks so much for joining in with us today. I know next week we have a special guest. I needed to look at the calendar and see which one's coming up next, but we have several guests lined up the next coming weeks for our Training Tuesday. I'm super excited for it. We have a network master of networking joining us next week, I believe. And then the week after it, we have several special guests that I will be rolling out here. Julia, maybe put in the comments who's joining us next week and the week after. I can't remember which is which, first or second, but cannot wait to see you back here next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you, everyone. Thank you, Donna, Treg, Nicole, for being here, and we'll see everybody again. Take care.
See ya.